We are a people of more, 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 now, 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 now. We have thousands of options at the touch of a fingertip. We are addicted to purchasing things. There's a disease within us called consumerism. People like to justify saying, yes, but the nation of America has sent more money on missions than any other nation. Yeah, you know how much money? We spent more money on dog food last year than we did on sending the gospel out. Dog food. Dog food. Here's the proof. Here's the proof. In fact, speaking of dogs, the domestic pet industry, last year Americans spent $42 billion. $42 billion on little purse puppies with all the fixins. The little bows. I saw a 21-year-old girl in Chicago O'Hare Airport. Beautiful black girl with a nice little purse puppy in the airport. And I just went, oh, Lord, what have we done? Duplication has begun. What have we done? Here's a 20-year-old with a habit of what? Having her pet groomed, having a $900 dog, having to get all the best food because you certainly can't give little Petey cheap dog food from Walmart. He needs Eukanuba. Here is this pet that is pampered. It had matching little feeders that came in matching little jars as she poured them out. She's carrying this pet on an airplane in her nice little Louis Vuitton carrying case. Oh, Lord, look what we have done. Duplication has begun. We have passed down our greed to the next generation. And for what? Why do we purchase things like that? Question, is there anybody here over 60? Can you stand up for me? I just have a quick question. You're over 60. Stand up. I know you don't want to admit it. But you know that the new 60 is really just 50. You're great. Okay, I just have a question for you. Stay standing for me. I want us to go back just a little bit of a ways. Can we go back? Whenever our family pet, which typically was a mutt, how many of us, our pets were typically mutts? And with our mutts, whenever they would start to get old and maybe their hips weren't working right or the dog was apparently in pain, can you please tell me, those of you that are 60 and older, because there's a whole generation that doesn't have a clue what you're supposed to do. Can you tell me what we did back then? You put them out of their misery. You lay them down. Do you know what people do today? They spend $3,000 on a hip replacement for Petey. I'm not joking. They have diabetic medication for Spot. They have diet dog food for their fat dog. Isn't that sad? But what did your generation do with a dog that is getting old, dying, hurting, whatever? You put them to sleep. But no, not today. Guess what our wonderful marketers of the veterinary world have done? They have plastic pieces to put in the hip for the dog. Why? Because they knew you would buy it. That's why. Sit down. But today there's a whole pet budget to the tune of $42 billion. Now here's something else that's very interesting. Do you know that Americans spent $625 billion on new cars last year? Shut up. You paid into some of it, and you know it. And did we need a new car? Do we need 3 with 2 drivers? No. This is called greed. This is called greed. Why do we keep purchasing more clothes when we already have a closet full? Some of you say, oh, because I haven't fit into them. That explains my point directly. Gluttony means we can't fit into our clothes. So then greed says I have to go buy some more. Then we lose our weight and we want some more new clothes because we don't want to wear the old ones. We have eaten our money. We have overspent our money to the tune of this. Americans spend $1.10 for every dollar that they make. They spend $1.10 for every dollar that they make. $3 trillion consumer debt that we share. It's all greed and gluttony. It's all greed and gluttony. Now, when you read the Bible straight through, read it like this. Where is this in me? Not, I can't believe they did that. Because I'm going to tell you a story you can't believe. You see, there was a time through Jeremiah and Ezekiel, I believe that we're in very similar times right now. And in Jeremiah through Ezekiel, you'll find something very interesting. What you find is that there were men and women sacrificing their children before false gods. And the god of Baal was the god of that time, who is still, that spirit is alive today. The god of Baal was a fertility god. So they would bring sacrifices. Their children, their firstborn daughter was given to be a prostitute in the temple. Their firstborn son, throat was sliced, organs dripping out. The god wanted blood. And they did this so their crops would flourish, so they'd make more money. They did it so their women would be fertile and produce lots of children, because lots of children meant great wealth. They did it so that their sheep and their cows and whatever livestock they had would reproduce and continue to reproduce. So they sacrificed their children so that they would be successful. Now, many of you go, how many of you can't believe they did that? But America does the same exact thing. Does the same exact thing. They're called daycares. They're called both parents working for what? A bigger house? Both parents are working for what? A bigger house. Both parents are sacrificing hours upon hours. There's people in this room who have 3 and 4 jobs. For why? Your new car? So we've sacrificed an entire generation. And that entire generation is an entitlement generation. Their love has been bought with Nintendos and videos and games and trips and clothes. When I see a 12-year-old with a Dooney and Burke bag, it makes me want to puke. So not only are we stuck with greed and we've got 12 purses that we don't need, now we're getting our kids stuck on the same habit. This is perversion. It is not feeling a need. It is feeling a want, an addiction. I want it and I want it now. So what is going on? Well, if you look throughout history, God disciplines his people for not obeying. So either you're being disciplined right now in the finance department or you're being refined right now in the finance department. Folks, there is a famine in the land. There's less food in our nation right now than there has been in years. We're actually a couple years behind on food production. Why? Because the crops are not yielding what they were yielding. Who's in charge of the crops? God. There's droughts all over the place. There's natural disasters all over the place. How many of you have heard this? You've heard that there's droughts. You've heard that there's famine. How many of you have heard of rice shortages? Who produces the rice? Who produces the rice? Some of you think man produces the rice. No, God is the one in charge of the harvest. He's the one that controls the heavens and the earth. There's been warning that's been coming out for years. Some of you just haven't listened. How many of you have known that you're supposed to get yourselves out of debt? I'm not going to ask how many have obeyed. I'm not going to ask. But for years now, my husband and I have boldly come out and gave an unpopular message. And the message is we cannot continue on the same path that we've been on without having some kind of a shakedown come on us. Why? Because the Lord disciplines those he loves. He disciplines those he loves. And he loves his people. And why does he discipline those he loves? Because you will lead yourself to your own destruction. And he is jealous for your life. How many of you have heard that statement before, that he's jealous for your life? And how many of you have been confused as to what that actually means? He's jealous for your life.